you're not in a healthy space.
Well, you cannot. And, I was reading and, doing a little stuff on my own too. But you felt like this came from the the vampires being violated somehow, perhaps, or going through some sort of emotional trauma. Is this just where they felt like they needed to take control of
I mean,
something?
that's usually, in very formative years, birth through 7 years old, so it's not even like there's a lot of consciousness. And usually a lot of these issues about not being able to generate energy or only want to have energy go in and not out. I mean, for most people, okay, for most people, they want to have that energy exchange. It's like, I want to talk to you and you want to talk to me and I want to talk to you. And there's this give and take of energy that's happening between us right now. Wouldn't you say?
I would, yes.
But if so let's take this to the energy vampire person. They would just sit here and talk to you for the next hour or two or three because they're taking, it's like it's a one-way ticket. It's not equal. It's just one way, that they're taking from you or making you, because they're not even receiving from you. They're just taking from you. And we should be able to give. I feel like I'm giving to you and you're giving back. So I'm being nurtured, you're being nurtured. But in that dynamic, the person who's on the receiving end, the person I've been calling it the feed bag, which sounds really bad. Uh, but the person that's the feed bag isn't getting anything. They're just tolerating it. Because I think most people would like to be able to put their 2 cents into that exchange. So whether it's a conversation, whether it's, doing stuff around your house, going and doing, what I mean, participating in life with someone, it's not supposed to be a one-way street and both people's needs should be met. But it also kind of goes back to what we were talking about before about that self-love thing.
Yes.
That you love yourself enough to sit there and go, oh, well, maybe this isn't what I wanted to.
Well, that actually is a complete tie in because in order to stop it, genuinely, you have to be ready and willing. You may not like doing it, but you have to be ready and willing to literally walk away, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I had
Yeah.
to make that choice with some family members,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not an easy choice. I'm as southern as corn, and you absolutely are not supposed to do that here.
Well, and again, we're not taught to do that. If we were taught to love ourselves, then we would be taught to honor our space,
And our
but we're
boundaries, to
not.
set
And our
boundaries
and our
even,
boundaries. Yeah.
or
And we're
even just to
not.
have them.
You know, yeah, I mean, in the research I'm doing, it's kind of like blah, blah, blah. Well, you have to have good boundaries. I'm like, oh man, not that word again. Not that word again.
It's a very important word.
It's a really important word, and I think having good boundaries is a reflection of your self-love.
Certainly your self-esteem, which is fed by
Mm-hmm.
your self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And, quite honestly, you always hear people say it, but so few people live it, going back to self-love, is that if you're not going to take care of yourself, who is?
But again, I don't think many people know what that means. They know the word, but I don't think they know what that means, like really know what that means.
I would agree with that. And Tom says that he didn't know that corn was Southern. He just learned something. And why, yes. Although I saw a lot of it when I was in Indiana too. So maybe
You know,
cornbread or
you
grits.
know, we had corn in New York. We didn't have grits. And I
Nobody in New
definitely
York
knew
has
I was in the
grits.
South when I went to a McDonald's and they had biscuits and gravy on the menu. I'm like, ooh, I really am in the South now. Biscuits and gravy on the menu.
Well, I'll tell you that when I was in New York, McDonald's was where I could get sweet tea. The only place in the city, but every McDonald's in the country has sweet tea.
Huh.
So thank heavens. I love going there, but I do like my beverage of choice sometimes.
Hmm.
You know, something else that you covered on your website, and I'm telling you people, soulhealing.com. Go there.
Healer. Healer.
It is just fabulous. But you had a video on the fact that there are people who train other people to be psychic vampires. They actually work on that.
Yeah, I mean I included it because I was doing my research on psychic vampires and just trying to fill out my knowledge base to be able to better communicate what I wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this website, and I don't have it in front of me, and not that I really want to share it with anybody, although I
No,
did put the link in there because I put in a quote, and I just found it, I'll say, creepy. But
it
there
is
is that
creepy.
but there is that whole vampire culture. I mean, there are people that, will drink other people's blood. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not a culture that I really want to participate in personally. Uh,
I'm
but
close enough
it's,
to New Orleans that I am familiar with that.
that it's, yeah. It's interesting, because there's that whole phenomena. There's stuff that you talk about, when you talk about different conspiracy theories. And I just sit there and go to myself, well, what if all of this stuff that people talk about, like people drinking blood and reptilians, living in underground bases, running the government, and, we killed JFK and all of this stuff that people talk about, what if it all was true and we've been lied to for our entire lives? I don't even like that thought. I don't like that rabbit hole.
No, that's a bad rabbit hole to start going down because you will convince yourself.
Well, and it's not even about convincing myself, but but when you sit there and you think about this whole drinking other people's blood and, this energy like intentional energy vampire, it's kind of like that's a rabbit hole unto itself. And it is real. I
Yes, it
mean, it's not
is.
just a conspiracy theory, it is real.
And I find that alarming too because, basically, this is your universal energy. This is your life force. This is what keeps you going that people are focusing on. And I have
Hmm.
such an issue with that.
But the people that are intentional energy vampires, I think they find people that I would hope, okay, I would hope that volunteer to give energy. My hope is that they just don't like inadvertently attach to and suck energy, off of somebody in line in Walmart because they're all out of their body because they're spaced out because they're in Walmart. Uh,
Well, I would hope that too, but I interviewed a guy who I really hoped that his book in his head was fiction, but he wrote about vampires who sought donors because they were born again Christian vampires for some reason. And so they sought donors
okay.
instead of killing. But he said, but if the need overcame them, then, you know, you have to do what you have to do. And I was like, oh, gracious. And then that was a very strange interview all the way through, but it was,
I'll bet.
I will tell you about that in private sometime. But
Okay.
it was not a boring interview, but it was an enlightening and kind of disconcerting interview.
Well,
But
and when you hear stuff like that, it's almost like you don't even know what to do with it because it's not a reality that you even want to come from,
Mm-hmm.
believe is true, want to own. And yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So, it just, I would hope that they would seek volunteers too, but the video and the site doesn't appear that that's their goal. It seems that it's, collect this energy regardless of how you get it. And I
Yeah.
just don't like that. I just think that's, you know, it's it's manipulation. It is stealing. I mean, what if it's a young mother who has to chase a 3-year-old for the day? They're going to need
Mhm.
that energy.
Mhm.
You know, you can't be, you can't just go randomly and do that. That's not right. It's not right at
Well, and
all.
it's sneaky,
It is
because they
sneaky.
don't have permission. They're just taking, which is what I was saying before. They just take and take, and with somebody like that that would do something like that, I guess there's no limit to where they'll push the boundary.
Right. Again, that word.
Mhm.
But, well, I think that the best thing that I learned when I was going through this information was controlling your energy. Recognize when you're being attacked, for lack of a better word. It actually is an attack.
Mhm.
And, do these people that are the energies or psychic vampires, are they always aware? I mean, do they do
I
they
don't think
know that
so.
this
I
is
mean, I
what
think
their
that
gift
they're
is?
I don't think so.
I would hope not.
Because I mean, some of the worst ones are, narcissists, and I don't think that, depending on where you are on the spectrum, I don't think they even realize that there's a deficit in their personality.
Right.
And so, I think that their level of awareness is like zero, so we're running around like trying to figure out everything about us. Well, how come, I can't plan? Wow, I just planned something, and they're like, who cares? I suck their energy, who cares? And it's just like, all right, that's scary, but I think for the people that are the potential victims and the potential food bags, um, awareness of, what the energy is, what the dynamic is, what the feeling might be. It's one thing to get sucked off of, once, or you might be in a work situation with somebody that's a psychic vampire,
Mm-hmm.
which
I
means
have.
you have to come and deal with that or find some way of dealing with that. But until you understand what's going on, you can't fix yourself,
You
and
cannot.
change what's going on.
And on that note, we're going to have to stop for a 2-minute break, and we will be back after this. Y'all enjoy.